morning everyone, how's all going? Josh Hack from PGG Rods and Seeds. Been a pretty tough couple of weeks up here on the mid-north coast with all the flooding and bits and pieces. A lot of the farmers doing it pretty tough. So just out today looking at some pasture that's been sown. So about a week and a half ago now there was a bit of helicopter work which has been done, which was fantastic. I know Matty Thompson was organising a lot of the helicopter work around the area, so well done Matty. He got a lot of hectares done and a fair bit of area underway and going, which is really good. So yeah, just down here in Oxley Island looking at some today. It's germinated really well and taking off. And we just want to have a bit of a chat about what do we do from now, and also other guys out there that are just about to start planting and what some options and bits and pieces. So obviously it's pretty important that we start to get into it. The cooler weather's going to start to come shortly. I just sort of wanted to run through a few things that often that I talk about regards to what's important in terms of trying to get a good establishment and bits and pieces. So everyone that knows me that I usually deal with, I try to put it down to sort of 4 things that if you can tick the box on those 4 things and get the best job out of that as you can, you're going to get a lot better job. So I'm in the car at the moment only because it's raining outside, and I've got a bit of footage of the grass and the pasture, but she's full on bucketing down out there at the moment, so I don't really want to get wet. So yeah, look, first of all is light. It's really important, and it's probably one that we're going to struggle with this year, especially with some of the stuff that's been sown into the kikuyu and bits and pieces and into those flooded areas and bits and pieces that are recovering now. We need to have light for that plant, all right? So we need, as soon as it germinates and comes up, we need to get as much light to that plant to allow it to photosynthesize and start to grow, get its secondary roots established, and then away it'll go. So we need to be looking at the kikuyu and other thatch that's around. Okay, so there's things we can do, whether we throwing it on in front of the cows, which some people are doing, and then nipping it off with the cows, removing that top layer, and then coming over with a bit of a mulch to try and set it back so that grass can then get up. We need to be really careful about the thickness of that mulch. We don't want it too thick, otherwise the grass isn't going to be able to come through that and start to see the light. Okay, so that's really important. And we're seeing, I'll show you in a minute when we go out to the paddock, but there's definitely going to be some decisions need to be made around what do we do? Do we go through and nip that off with the cows shortly, and then come through and mulch that to try and allow that grass to see that light so it can keep going? And what are some of the decisions there? And it's going to be different for everybody, but there's a lot of different options we can use. Temperature. So soil temperatures, usually in that March period can sometimes be okay, but sometimes it can be a bit of an issue. But look, we're right this year. Whenever we start to get a lot of rainfall, and rainfall directly links to temperature as well. So look, soil temps are absolutely perfect. Get into it. The soil temps, fantastic at the moment. So yeah, there's no issues there with our soil temp. But have a look at the 10 to 20 day forecast as we talk about. But at this time of year, we're going to be pretty right. We're into April now, so it's usually when we're in February and March that we need to really keep an eye on that soil temperature, and it's not too hot. But we want to try and get it in as quickly as possible. So we've still got good, reasonable soil temperature to get it up and going, and it's responding remarkably well at the moment, obviously because the soil temps are perfect. And moisture. So look, we need to have moisture. So obviously there's good moisture around at the moment. Make the most of it. It's there. As long as you can get on those paddocks and they're trafficable, that's what you want to be doing, is getting on and get that done. And nutrients. We often sometimes forget to put nitrogen on our ryegrass because we're worried about the kikuyu swamping it and taking over. There's been some fantastic work done by Peter Bill at the Local Land Services that has showcased that having nitrogen there available for that ryegrass when it's establishing is so important for our first grazing and sequence grazings afterwards. So look, I'll put a bit of an overlay up there now, but as you can see, in this graph that you've got along the bottom there, you've got the nitrogen that's being applied over the year on the kikuyu from 0 to 150 to 300. So there's a bit of background nitrogen in those plots. But then you can actually see in the numbers up above here, where we've got 0, 30, 60 and 90 kilos of nitrogen that has been applied at sowing, that you can get that response. So you're looking at getting, you know, basically a 1,000 kilos or a ton of dry matter response from putting no nitrogen on to putting 60 kilos of nitrogen on. You need to be careful about that rate, at the higher rate, if you are putting it down with a drill, but if you're spreading it out, it's okay. Or, you know, talk to your advisors or whoever about that sort of stuff. But just wanted to get that clear message there that, you know, even with background nitrogen through the year, having nitrogen down with your ryegrass is definitely going to help get that yield in that first grazing as well. And with the current conditions we've had, with the, you know, amount of rainfall and flooding conditions, our nitrogen levels in our soils will be depleted. You know, the kikuyu that's recovering now would be pulling out what's left, but, you know, nitrogen levels would definitely be very, very low. And what we know, when we have, you know, better established plants early on, they're going to be better plants through winter, and they're going to be better plants going through into spring. We can typically get dry springs, okay, so we want to have the best established plants we can get, so those roots are nice and deep, okay, they can access more moisture, more nutrients in spring as well. So, you know, it's important to get a good job done right up at the front, okay. So going back to, you know, some of the options at the moment, look, if you can get a direct drill onto the paddocks, it's still going to be better off. You know, you're going to get better soil to seed to soil contact. It's going to be a better plant. It's going to be easier to graze first grazing because less chance of pulling it out and all those sorts of things. But if you can't, just start doing something. So whether you start, you know, spreading some out in front of the cows and then mulching in behind the cows having a feed, or whether it's, you know, spreading out some ryegrass on your paddocks that you know that aren't going to recover and then mulching it back over the top. There's going to be a lot of different options for a lot of people, but there's plenty of different options, and I'm more than happy to take a phone call and have a chat and help talk through those scenarios at any time. But let's go out and have a look at this grass that's coming up at the moment, because I think it's a pretty good job, and it's all coming away pretty nice. So if we have a look at this piece here, here we can see we've still got good open canopy for that light to get down in there. Okay, so this was spread about a week and a half ago with a helicopter, and we'll hop down and have a look and see how it's going. You can see the kikuyu there, and then we can see, if we have a look, nice close wheel look down in here, we've got all these new ryegrass plants. It's done a great job. You can see it sitting in there. It's all germinated. It's all about sort of, you know, 3 to 4 inches long. Still on its first leaf. Still very delicate at this stage. So we're just trying to give it a rest and make sure, whilst we've got this canopy open, this plant's going to take off and be nice. What's going to be some of the issues we're going to have, though, is not all the paddocks are like that, or not all parts of the paddock are like that. And we're going to have parts, we'll try and get into a thick bit over here, which we'll see, usually where there's a cow pad or something, but some of the paddocks are fully like this. Once we start to see this sort of scenario where we know we're not going to get that light down into that canopy, all right, there's no chance for, even if there is ryegrass in here, it's not going to be able to get up into that light, okay? So at some stage in the next week, we need to try and get in there and maybe give this a top, or take the top off it with the cows, just to allow the light to get down in there. But as we can see here nicely, we've got a really good germination of ryegrass underneath. Look at that. So the trick now will be to try and work out a time where, you see these plants are getting pretty things, so we've got to get some nitrogen on here to get them some energy to keep going. All right, but we've also got to work out a way to deal with this thatch and this extra feed. So maybe put the cows in here in a week or so once we can get secondary roots established. Now these are really only on their primary root. They've still got a bit to go. They're very, very, very delicate. Look at that. They're just sitting on top of the surface. We need them to anchor down into the soil a bit more. We can come through and give this a quick nip off with the cows and ask them just to remove this bit better quality stuff on top. Okay, we just want them to remove all this good quality leaf off the top. No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not the best feed, but it's still going to be okay. And then we'll come back through and mulch and try and top that top bit off, depending how much is there. Because again, we don't want to shade that ryegrass too much with too much thatch. But the other one too is just allowing us to remove this green stuff off the top. Will allow the light to get down into that ryegrass and allow it to get established. So hope you're all going well. Any questions on any of that sort of stuff, give us a bell. Looks like a bit of a shower of rain just about to pop in here now, which is going to get wet in a second. So, rightio people, it's starting to rain here. I'm going to get out of it because I don't want to get too wet anyway. So, any questions, give us a bell. Wishing you all the best. Look after yourself, look after your friends, family, and everyone around you. Cheers.